Grandma's heartbreaking story reveals a shocking family secret, and no one saw it coming. In the dim light of Grandma Eleanor's quaint cottage, a heavy silence settled like a thick fog. The walls, lined with musty old books, whispered stories of a bygone era, their pages yellowed with age. A faint scent of lavender danced in the air, its soothing aroma an ironic contrast to the anxious tension enveloping the room. Her frail body lay draped in soft, faded blankets, her once vibrant frame now a mere shadow of itself. Her grandchildren clustered nearby, hearts racing, hands trembling. They knew this moment was approaching, a fragile time that begged for a revelation. But the unease was palpable. It felt like an unseen weight, a secret pressing down on them all. Eleanor's eyes fluttered open, glistening like dew-kissed leaves under morning light. The room held its breath as she gathered her strength. They leaned closer, straining to hear her unsteady voice. "There's something I've kept hidden, buried," she began, each word labored. Shockwaves rippled through the room. What could possibly be so grave? Jonathan, the oldest, felt his heart race. Could it be a debt, an affair, or worse? Samantha's brow furrowed in dread, her pulse thrumming in her ears, while little Ethan, the quietest of the bunch, clutched his sister's hand like a lifeline. Eleanor's voice trembled as she continued. "You all think you know our family, but there's a piece missing, a sibling hidden away." The room caught the sharp intake of breath. Confusion rippled like a stone tossed into a pond. "Wait, what do you mean?" Jonathan's voice cracked, disbelief mingling with anger. "How could you keep something like that from us?" Anguish twisted Eleanor's face, a storm of emotions reflected in her weary eyes. "It was to protect you. It's complicated." The room thrummed with tension, each grandchild wrestling with a myriad of feelings, betrayal gnawing at their hearts. Samantha's mind raced. "Who is it? Why didn't we know? We deserve to know!" Her voice rose, passion igniting confusion and fury alike. Just then a knock echoed through the silence, chilling the air. All heads turned toward the door, uncertainty hanging thick. Who could that be? As the door creaked open, a stranger stepped inside, the light catching their unsettling smile. "Excuse me, I'm looking for Eleanor, and I think I might be someone you need to meet." Gasps filled the room. The stranger's arrival felt like a punch to the gut, serving only to intensify the churning questions that now swirled like a tempest. Eleanor shifted, panic gripping her frail body. "No, not now." The tension thickened. Who was this newcomer? To continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The stranger's smile hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and electric. Eleanor's breath quickened, panic flaring in. Held her eyes. Who are you?" She barely managed to croak the words out. The room felt charged, as if time had twisted, suspending them in a moment of dread. Jonathan stepped forward, fists clenched, ready to protect his grandmother. "You need to leave. We don't want any trouble," he said, his voice steady but raw. The stranger held up their hands, a gesture of peace, but it felt more like a glove hiding a hidden blade. "I promise I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm related to you, Eleanor." Gasps erupted, mingling with the thick tension. Samantha exchanged bewildered looks with Ethan, whose wide eyes mirrored the swirling confusion, almost too sharp to name. "Related? How is that even possible?" Samantha shot back, her heart racing, anger bubbling. "And you've known this whole time?" Jonathan pressed, fury seeping through his voice. "You let this happen?" He turned to Eleanor, disappointment wedging itself deeply within the cracks of his heart. Eleanor's lips trembled. "No, it's complicated. I had to protect you all." "I don't need your protection," Jonathan shouted, every word sharp and bitter. "Not when it involves lies. Just tell us the truth. Please." Eleanor's voice was a fragile whisper. "It's not a simple story." "Then why don't you let them speak?" the stranger interjected, surprising them all. "My name is Alex. You haven't heard about me because it wasn't safe. For any of us." "Safe?" Jonathan sneered. "From what? A family secret? You're kidding." Eleanor's gaze shifted between her grandchildren and the newcomer. "I thought I was doing what was best at the time," she said, anguish pulling at her features. "We lost so much already." "What's done is done," Alex interrupted, desperation flaring up. "You may not understand, but there were threats, dangerous people who needed to be kept away." At that moment, the air thickened like molasses as another knock boomed through the cottage. The wood creaked under the pressure. Everyone froze. "Another unexpected visitor?" Jonathan exchanged a worried glance with Samantha, who glanced to little Ethan, his small hands shaking. "What now? Anyone else we should be worried about?" Jonathan groaned, the frustration palpable. Alex's sharp eyes flickered toward the door. "It can't be." Their voice dropped to a near whisper, fear mingling with recognition. A deep breath later, Eleanor's face drained of color. "If they're here? No, this isn't possible." With that, before anyone could react, the door swung open. In stepped a tall figure, cloaked in darkness. Their eyes glinted with a sinister spark, piercing the dimness with a chilling familiarity. "Eleanor, we've come for what's ours," they declared, voice smooth yet threatening, like a predator claiming its prey. The air turned electric. A dark twist in the night as the truth began to unfurl like a serpent, revealing layers of deceit and danger that wove through the fabric of their lives. Eleanor slumped back, a hand clutched to her chest. No, it can't be. Jonathan felt the world shift beneath him, his reality bending. He turned to Alex, new questions flooding his head. "What do you mean, what's ours? What's going on?" And as silence fell heavy once more, a new wave of fear surged through the room, pulling at the seams of their fragile bonds. What was the truth behind Alex's claims? And who was this haunting figure that threatened to dismantle everything they thought they knew? Felt like a chilling whisper on the edge of a storm. It left them all aching to understand. The cloaked figure stepped closer, and Eleanor's body tensed, her breath hitching in her throat. "What do you mean, come for what's ours?" Jonathan shouted, his fists balled, heart hammering like a terrified rabbit's. "Think you all?" "No," the figure replied, voice smooth yet twisted, like a dark melody. Secrets have a way of surfacing, don't they? Eleanor's eyes widened, betrayal flickering across her frail features. You shouldn't be here. I thought you were gone. Panic filled the air, thick and suffocating. Gone? We were separated, but never lost. The figure stepped closer, revealing sharp, cold eyes that seemed to see right through them. You buried the truth, Eleanor, but it's alive. And it's coming back for its share. The grandchildren exchanged anxious glances. Samantha squeezed Ethan's hand tighter. The little boy's eyes mirrored fear, wide and darting. What are they talking about? She whispered, half hoping someone would scoff and say it was a joke. The newcomer raised an eyebrow, a smirk forming. You really don't know, do you? Poor naive souls. A crack of lightning echoed outside, sending a jolt of fear through the room. Jonathan turned to Eleanor, desperation spilling from his voice. Is this true? Do we really have someone missing? Someone dangerous? Eleanor shook her head, tears pooling in her eyes, a storm of pain and remorse. I wanted to protect you. All of you. From what? His voice rose, raw and trembling. From the truth? From our past, Eleanor gasped, collapsing slightly into her chair. The family we lost, the connections you don't understand. The tension thickened, each word heavy as a weight hung over them. Alex stepped forward, desperation etched into their features. We have to get out of here. It's not safe. Suddenly, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows against the walls. The cloaked figure let out a low, sinister chuckle. You think running will save you? And then, without warning, the door burst open again. This time, it flung wide, revealing not one, but two ominous figures shrouded in the black shadows of the night. The air turned frigid, each breath a struggle against panic. Gasps echoed, filling the room, an oppressive curtain of dread wrapping around them. What did you do, Eleanor? One of the newcomers hissed, eyes gleaming with wicked delight. Eleanor's face crumpled. I didn't! I thought I was protecting you! Protecting us from what? Jonathan pressured, voice shaking, teeth clenched. More secrets, more lies. The first figure stepped into the light, revealing a face strikingly familiar, yet twisted with malice. Protecting you from the truth that you're not who you think you are. Ethan's tremor turned into a full shudder. What are you talking about? He croaked, voice small. No, please, just stop, Samantha cried, tears spilling. What do you mean? The gleeful smile drifted over the stranger's lips. Let me enlighten you. You have a sister, and she's been living a life built on lies, just like the rest of you. The world tipped, reality tilting sideways. Eleanor gasped, her hand clutching her heart. No, it can't be. The other figure stepped forward, voice dripping with venom. Oh, but it is. She's the one missing, and the one with power. Jonathan's heart raced. The names echoing in his mind. What power? Who are you all? The rune spun, shockwaves propelling through the air. You'll find out soon enough. The newcomer taunted, voice low and ominous. Eleanor looked at her grandchildren, terror mixing with desperation. You need to listen to me. But Jonathan shook his head, anger flashing on his face. What will it take to get the truth? What else are you hiding? Before she could respond, the cloaked figure raised a hand, icy, almost hypnotic. Time to choose. Will you embrace the truth, or will you let it consume you? Your sister is closer than you think. She's been waiting all this time. And just like that, they all felt it. The shift in the air, the whisper of hidden pasts clawing at the edges of their consciences. The depth of betrayal surged like a tidal wave. What did it all mean? Eleanor's heart raced, a dark understanding dawning. No, no. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the silence, echoing through the cottage. A gut-wrenching sound that froze their blood, unraveling every thread they thought they understood. As the chaos erupted around them, they stood at a crossroads, reeling. What lay ahead? What awaited them in the shadows? The answers felt dangerously close, just a breath away, and yet so impossibly far. A scream shattered the air, a sound so raw it was like glass breaking. It pierced through the thick tension, launching shockwaves across the room. Everyone froze, their hearts pounding in their chests. What was that? Ethan asked, voice a trembling whisper, eyes darting toward the door. The room felt colder now, shadows creeping in, wrapping around them like icy fingers. Eleanor's face paled further, hands shaking against her frail body. No, it can't be. Her whispered terror sent chills through Jonathan and Samantha, the atmosphere thickening, the kind of silence that breathes fear. The cloaked figure stepped back, grin plastered on their face, finding delight in their dread. Isn't it beautiful? They cooed. The past coming alive? It knows how to knock. Stop talking, Jonathan snapped, pushing back against the voice that clawed at his mind. What do you mean? Who was that? But before anyone could answer, the room reverberated with another pounding knock, shaking the shabby walls. It was insistent, urgent, as if someone was desperate to break in. Get away from the door, he shouted, panic surging, hands balled into fists. The cloaked figure laughed, dark and hollow. Why? You think you can stop what's coming? You don't even know where it's headed. The door rattled again, and in that moment of wavering fear, something shifted. The second figure, taller and even more foreboding, stepped closer to the light. Eleanor, they said, voice smooth like silk but laced with malicious edge. We're here for our sister, and for the truth. The words hung in the air, pregnant with implications, leaving everyone gasping for breath. The atmosphere turned electric, an unseen force tightening around them. Eleanor paled, the blood draining from her face as memories flickered past her eyes, her hand clutching her heart. No, please, I thought she was gone, but she can't be. What do you mean? Samantha interjected harshly, shaking with distrust. Who are you talking about? Just as Eleanor began to murmur something important, a loud crash erupted from outside. The noise was deafening, metal scraping against metal, and suddenly a bright light flooded the cottage from the windows. Get down! Jonathan yelled. Instinct kicking in as adrenaline surged. They all ducked instinctively, hearts racing with the anticipation of danger. Then a figure emerged from the light. It was commanding, radiant, but everything about it felt off. With striking features and an aura of authority, the newcomer swept into the room, exuding a heat that felt almost otherworldly. What is happening? The new figure demanded, voice powerful and chilling. Eleanor's eyes widened in disbelief, breathing fast as if she were face to face with a ghost. You're not supposed to be here. The room held its breath, the weight of emotional upheaval pressing down on every heart. I'm exactly where I need to be, the newcomer said, eyes locking onto Eleanor before moving to the others. I've come to claim what was lost. Claim? Jonathan echoed, confusion slicing through the tension. What are you even talking about? All these years, the newcomer said, the words ringing with gravity. The lies, the secrets. The sister you didn't know about isn't the only one. There's more. Everything you believe to be true is a facade. Ethan trembled, clutching Samantha tighter. What? He cried, tears forming in his innocent eyes. Your family isn't just what you think, the newcomer continued, voice laced with regret. You've all been living on borrowed time. This ends tonight. Panic erupted in Eleanor's eyes, horror dawning as the walls seemed to close in. What do you mean? She whispered, horrified. A shattered glance passed amongst the grandchildren. What do you... Jonathan started, but was cut off as the newcomer pointed a finger, trembling slightly. That scream, it wasn't a warning. It was an invitation, a call for you all to face the truth. A breathless silence enveloped the room. The truth loomed, dark and unyielding. Confirmation hung thick in the air. Everyone's heart raced. More secrets? Samantha breathed, voice shaking. What else is there? What else can't you tell us? Eleanor's chest tightened, reality slamming into her. And at that precise moment, one of the cloaked figures lunged forward, revealing a dagger gleaming in the light. No! Eleanor shouted, a scream bursting forth. It was an echo of a long-suppressed fear. Everything fell apart in an instant. Shadows engulfed the room as chaos erupted. Jonathan pushed forward, backs against the wall, but a single thought seared through the frantic energy. What if everything they knew was a lie? How deep did this betrayal run? And who else was out there? The room erupted in chaos as the cloaked figure lunged forward, dagger glinting ominously in the frail light. Jonathan moved instinctively, his heart pounding, fists raised. Stay back, he shouted, every muscle coiled with fear. Eleanor's voice quivered, torn between the past and the present. You don't understand. It's not what you think. But the figure only laughed, an unsettling sound that echoed through the cottage. You always were a terrible liar, Eleanor. And just like that, confusion and anger collided like a thunderstorm in their midst. Suddenly, a flash of light illuminated the room. A blinding brightness swept through the door, casting eerie shadows against the walls. Jonathan shielded his eyes, but it wasn't the brightness that froze him in place. It was what came with it. A girl. She strode in, full of confidence, with hair that sparkled like golden threads, shining even among the chaos. Stop this, she commanded, voice powerful yet brimming with warmth. Yet, there was something distinctly unsettling about her presence that sent a shiver down Jonathan's spine. His heart raced as Eleanor gasped. You! How are you here? The girl turned toward Eleanor, eyes piercing with a mix of sadness and resolve. It's time to reveal the truth, isn't it? Before they could process her words, the dagger-wielding cloaked figure swiveled in alarm. You have no right to be here, Amelia. The name hung like an accusation in the air, heavy and unnerving. How do you know her? Jonathan's voice blasted through the tension, confusion swirling in his gut. Who are you? I'm Amelia, she replied, gaze darting to each one of them like a dart hitting its. I'm the sister they don't want you to know about. Her voice trailed off, a chill wrapping around every word. The weight of her confession hit like a freight train. Jonathan stood frozen, eyes wide in disbelief. But What? Eleanor lied to protect you, not just from them, Amelia said, tilting her head toward the cloaked figures, but from the truth of your own blood. Samantha's mind raced, heart hammering wildly. Blood? What do you mean? The truth has always been more dangerous than anyone expected, Amelia continued, stepping further into the chaos. You're not just siblings. You're part of something much bigger. Eleanor clutched her chest, her breath hitching. Amelia, I thought you were lost. The memory of betrayal spun in Jonathan's mind, spinning faster and faster, spiraling out of control. You really are saying she's our sister? From another family? Why were we kept apart? Amelia took a breath, and in that pause, the tension seemed to thicken like molasses. Because you were meant to be, but to keep you safe from the shadows that followed me? Shadows that weren't mere stories. Suddenly, the air shifted. The cloaked figure lunged, dagger aimed, their voice rising in fury. Shut up! You don't belong here! But one quick movement from Amelia, and the air crackled. A wave of energy pulsed through the room, and with a mere flicker of her wrist, a barrier formed, shimmering with a radiant glow that pushed them all back. What are you doing? Jonathan gasped, staring at Amelia. She was transforming, thrust into something beyond just a sister lost in the shadows. I'm here for what's rightfully mine, Amelia declared, voice steady and fierce. You don't have to believe me yet, Jonathan, but soon you'll see. The shadows looked shaken, and uncertainty snaked through the room as they recoiled from Amelia's power. But more than that, dread burgeoned inside Jonathan. What did that mean? What was she truly capable of? Before they could ask, another loud crash reverberated outside the cottage, a shattering sound, and a bitter cold swept in as the door swung open wide. Enough! Shouted a new voice, deep and foreboding, as the figure of an all-too familiar face entered. One Jonathan had never expected to see. Mom? He stammered, heart sinking as recognition shattered everything he thought he knew. But you! You can't be here! Her eyes glowed with a fierce intensity, filled with secrets that turned his stomach. Oh, but darling, you have no idea how wrong you really are. And as she stepped further into the room, the horrifying truth of their family began to unravel like a twisted tapestry. Who were they really? What bonds lay buried in shadows, waiting to be unleashed? Silence fell like a heavy curtain. And in that moment, they all stood at the edge of a cliff, trembling with terror about what lay below. The truth awaited them, cruel and sharp, threatening to cut deeper than they ever imagined. What did she mean? What else had been hidden? The answers seemed to flicker just out of reach, like shadows slipping away into the darkness. The room froze, the air thickening with tension as Jonathan's eyes widened, disbelief flooding his senses. Mom? But you? How can you be here? Every word felt like ice against his tongue, the weight of familiarity crashing into fear. Her gaze remained locked on Eleanor, burning with an intensity that sent shivers down Jonathan's spine. You shouldn't have hidden this from them, Eleanor, she said, her voice low and dangerous. You've put them all at risk. What do you mean? Samantha's voice shook as she clutched Ethan's hand tighter, confusion twisting her features. What's happening? The cloaked figures exchanged glances, their frowns deepening, as if they were piecing together a missing puzzle. You're all blind to the truth, one hissed, voice dripping with mockery. You have no idea what you're really a part of. Jonathan felt the walls close in. "What do you mean, blind? Well, we're family!" Panic welled up inside him, threatening to spill over into anger. "Yes, family," his mother said, voice slicing through the tension like a knife. "But not just any family. We're part of something much darker." A cold gust blew through the door, sending a chill racing through the room. Amelia stepped closer, her face a mixture of fear and resolve. "What are you talking about?" she demanded, voice steady. Before anyone could respond, another loud crash outside rattled the door. Everyone turned, breaths hitching as they heard a woman's sharp, deafening scream slice through the night. Jonathan's heart dropped. It wasn't just a scream. It was a wail of pure agony. "Somebody's out there!" Ethan whimpered, trembling next to Samantha. "Stay close!" Jonathan shouted, feeling the urgency clawing at his throat. "Eleanor!" A voice broke through the commotion. Familiar, gripping. It was his father, Mark, bursting in through the door, his face pale and wide-eyed with terror. "Get them out! Now!" But before Jonathan could react, the cloaked figure lunged forward, tackling Mark. An explosive struggle unfolded. The sound of fists colliding rang in the air as Mark fought against the figure, desperate to protect his family. "Stop! Stop it!" Jonathan shouted, rushing forward. But then everything shattered. With one swift motion, the cloaked figure pulled back, revealing a hidden gun. "You don't want to do this!" Mark yelled, panic seeping into his voice. "This isn't what you think. Everything is exactly as it seems." The cloaked figure sneered, pointing the gun. And just then, Amelia stepped between them, her expression shifting from determination to desperation. "Don't hurt him! Amelia, get back!" Jonathan cried, reaching for her. But it was too late. "Enough!" Amelia's voice resonated. And in that moment, something shifted within her. A glowing light enveloped her, pulsing with raw energy, and without warning, she unleashed a blast that sent everyone flying back. The room exploded in chaos. Furniture crashed, the air screamed with energy, and Jonathan felt weightlessness envelop him as he slid across the floor. In that sudden burst of power, everything changed. When the dust settled, Jonathan looked up to see his mother standing, eyes wide as she beheld Amelia. The girl he'd seen as just a sister had transformed into something else entirely. "Amelia," Jonathan whispered in awe. "What did you just do?" Amelia turned to him, and for the first time, he could see a flicker of something darker behind her eyes. "The truth isn't pretty, Jonathan. You'll need to see it to believe it." But before he could ask what she meant, the cloaked figure regained their footing, fury etched deeply into every contour of their face. "You've ruined everything! We must get out, now." As the chaos swirled, Jonathan's heart raced. Relationships hung by a thread. The truth crackled in the air like static, unearthing secrets buried deep. Panic coursed through him. "What do you mean? What else is out there?" Amelia opened her mouth to respond, but a violent pulse of energy ripped through the room again, tearing at the foundation of everything they thought they knew. Jonathan's heart sank. "No! No! Not again!" But before he could grasp the full weight of the revelation, the same piercing scream echoed once more, this time louder, closer. It felt like an echo from a nightmare that refused to die down. And everything slammed to a halt. A heavy silence suffocated the room, questions swirling in the void. What had they awakened? What truths were lying in wait? As more screens erupted outside Jonathan's world spiraled into chaos. He stood there, shattered by the realization that everything about their family was built on a foundation of lies. Dark secrets, entwining their fates tighter than he ever imagined. And then, a thought punctured his mind like a knife. Were they truly ready to face the truth lurking just beyond their door? The scream outside drilled into Jonathan's ears like a siren, echoing off the walls of their crumbling world. The air pulsed with tension, every breath filled with dread. "Where is that coming from?" he shouted, desperation clear in his voice. Amelia's energy shimmered around her, and for a moment, Jonathan believed she might protect them. "We have to find out," she said, eyes blazing with determination. But as she took a step closer to the door, a sudden force rippled through the room, and everything spun out of control. "Enough!" His mother's voice cracked like thunder. "You shouldn't—" But before she could finish, the cloaked figure gripped Mark tighter, the gun aimed unyieldingly. "You want to know why you're really all here? Why shadows have followed you?" Then the door burst open, enveloping them in blinding light. Time stopped. A silhouette stood against the brightness, pulse racing through every heart in the room. "Stop!" The voice was like a commanding echo, bouncing off the walls, hard, relentless. "Who are you?" Jonathan shouted, overwhelmed as the figure stepped into focus, face washed with recognition. It was Grandma Eleanor, but something about her screamed urgency, an electric current. Thrumming in the air. "Grandma?" Samantha whispered, terror-laden, confusion etched across her brow. "What are you doing here?" "Get away from the door, now!" she yelled. And before he could respond, the cloaked figure released Mark and lunged for Eleanor. Jonathan's heart plummeted. It was too fast, too chaotic. Everyone was screaming. In that instant, something fractured. Shadows twisted around them, swallowing the light. Electricity crackled in the air, and Jonathan felt a ripple of heat pulse through the room. Eleanor raised her hands, fingers weaving intricate patterns. "You don't understand!" she cried, but her voice sank beneath the chaos, muffled like a sound beneath water. Suddenly, out of the darkness, the last cloaked figure, the one they had all feared, flicked a wrist, and the room erupted in a spray of sparks. It was a blinding flash that hurt Jonathan's eyes. In that dazzling light, form began to emerge, a shadow casting an even darker outline, growing larger, morphing. And then it broke free. The face twisted into a horrific grin that twisted Jonathan's gut like an iron fist. "Hello, siblings." A voice, smooth and chilling, slithered through the air. "Isn't this a family reunion?" Jonathan choked on his breath, eyes widening. "What? How? Who are you?" But the figure's laughter sent shivers down his spine. "Oh, you'll find out soon enough. I'm someone you thought lost. But the truth is far more complicated than you know." The pieces fell into place, twisting his reality into a knot. "What do you mean lost? We didn't lose anyone." "Oh, but you did. You lost me, and what's worse, I returned with a purpose." Eleanor stepped back, horror painting her features. "No, it's not possible. You shouldn't be back." "Too late, dear sister. Time waits for no one." The figure stepped closer, an eye glimmer penetrating through the gathering storm, locking onto Jonathan. You thought you were the heroes of this tale, didn't you? But you're merely pawns in a game far more sinister. Cold shock surged through Jonathan, heart racing. "What are you talking about?" he stammered, every syllable heavy with anxiety. But the figure only smiled wider, revealing gleaming teeth like daggers. "It's time for you to choose, dear brother. Join me or watch your cherished family crumble into dust." Every face around the room froze in shock, the implications crashing over them like a tidal wave. Questions spiraled in Jonathan's mind. Who was this? What had been hidden from them? And as the shadows surged closer, he felt the reality shift, splintering into something dark and unrecognizable. He didn't just have to protect his family. He had to confront the terrifying truth of who he really was. And somehow, beneath the despair, a question echoed in his mind as the tension grew thicker than fog. Was it too late for them all to escape? The figure standing before them sneered, the smile stretching wider, a cruel shadow across the dim room. "You thought you'd piece together a family, didn't you? But you have no idea how deep this goes." Every muscle in Jonathan's body tightened. "What do you mean? Who are you really?" he pressed, heart racing. Before the figure could respond, a sudden crash echoed from behind them. The door slammed shut, rattling the walls, as if the house were alive with the energy of a storm. "Stay behind me!" Jonathan shouted, instinct kicking in as he turned toward the sudden noise. But in that split second, the shadows shifted, and from the darkness emerged a woman. No, not just any woman. His mother, but not as in disbelief. "What happened to you?" "Stay back!" shouted the cloaked figure, panic threading through their voice as they looked between Jonathan and his mother. "You don't want to hear this." But Jonathan was already moving forward. The tension crackled in the air like static electricity. "What are you talking about?" he demanded, desperation edging his voice. His mother stumbled forward, chest rising and falling like a bellows. "They're all lies, Jonathan. Everything you've been told. I've protected you, but the truth—" She blinked, tears spilling over. "The truth is far worse than you can imagine. It's not just about Amelia. It's about all of us." "What do you mean?" Jonathan's voice trembled, shock flooding his veins. Suddenly, the light in the room flickered, and, for a brief moment, they all stood in darkness. "No!" Eleanor cried, clutching her head as if to shield herself from the turmoil. "The truth isn't what you think." The cloaked figure looked terrified, backward glancing at Jonathan's mother, beads of sweat gathering like rain on their brow. "You really shouldn't have come here. You don't know what's at stake." But Jonathan's gaze was fixed on his mother, his mind racing. "Tell me," he demanded. "Tell me everything." Her breath hitched again, and then she whispered, "It's the family bloodline. It connects us to a power we didn't ask for, a legacy that ties us to another world." "Another world?" Samantha echoed, eyes widening. "Yes, your sister. Not just Amelia. There's a line of us. It reaches deep into the fabric of reality." The shadows around them seemed to pulse, responding to her words. "You're not just siblings," his mother continued, voice trembling. "You're part of something ancient and dangerous." Before they could absorb her words, the cloaked figure started to shake, their face twisted with fear. "No, not this. We can't let them know." "Let us know what?" Jonathan fired back, panic twisting inside him. But out of nowhere, a guttural roar echoed from outside, shaking the cottage to its core. The walls trembled, dust raining down, and Jonathan felt it, the ground beneath him shifting like earth giving way to an avalanche. "What is that?" Ethan cried, eyes wide in terror. "That's not just an animal," Amelia said, voice steeled, as she reached for Jonathan. "That's a sentinel, a guardian of the truth. Once it's called, there's no going back." At that moment, everything shifted again. Jonathan's mother's figure flickered, like a bad reception on an old TV, revealing underneath her facade a ghostly silhouette cloaked in ethereal light. I'm not who you think I am," she whispered, horror dawning on Jonathan's face. "I am bound to this world because I made a choice to protect you." "What are you saying?" His voice was small, quaking under the weight of her revelation. She took a step back, the shimmer dissipating like fading mist. "The sacrifices I made to keep the sentinels at bay. It was all a lie to shield you. And if they find out this..." "Find out what?" Jonathan felt his world teeter, reality blurring like a reflection in disturbed water. "The truth," she gasped. "You have to make a choice, to either release me from this curse or let them control your fate." The cloaked figure, eyes wide with terror, whispered, "You can't be serious. This isn't just about our family anymore." And with those words, the ground trembled again, sending Jonathan sprawling backward, the enormity of it all crashing down on him. As he looked up, the shadows twisted around them, the threat growing ever closer, and the revelation hung heavy in the air. What more had they unleashed? What would they have to choose? And who among them was truly lost, bound to the ancient powers lurking? Just beneath the surface, the figure standing before them sneered, the smile stretching wider, a cruel shadow across the dim room. "You thought you'd piece together a family, didn't you? But you have no idea how deep this goes." Every muscle in Jonathan's body tightened. "What do you mean? Who are you really?" he pressed, heart racing. Before the figure could respond, a sudden crash echoed from behind them. The door slammed shut, rattling the walls. As if the house were alive with the energy of a storm. "Stay behind me!" Jonathan shouted, instinct kicking in as he turned toward the sudden noise. But in that split second, the shadows shifted, and from the darkness emerged a woman. No, not just any woman, his mother, but not. As he remembered her, her clothes were tattered, her hair unkempt, eyes hollow with despair. "You have to listen. I have to tell you." "Mom?" He staggered back, breath hitching in disbelief. "What happened to you?" "Stay back!" shouted the cloaked figure, panic threading through their voice as they looked between Jonathan and his mother. "You don't want to hear this." But Jonathan was already moving forward. The tension crackled in the air like static electricity. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. His mother stumbled forward, chest rising and falling like a bellows. "They're all lies, Jonathan. Everything you've been told. I've protected you, but the truth..." She blinked, tears spilling over. "The truth is far worse than you can imagine. It's not just about Amelia. It's about all of us." "What do you mean?" Jonathan's voice trembled, shock flooding his veins. Suddenly, the light in the room flickered, and for a brief moment, they all stood in darkness. "No!" Eleanor cried, clutching her head as if to shield herself from the turmoil. "The truth isn't what you think." The cloaked figure looked terrified, backward glancing at Jonathan's mother, beads of sweat gathering like rain on their brow. "You really shouldn't have come here. You don't know what's at stake." But Jonathan's gaze was fixed on his mother, his mind racing. "Tell me," he demanded. "Tell me everything." Her breath hitched again, and then she whispered, "It's the family bloodline. It connects us to a power we didn't ask. For a legacy that ties us to another world." "Another world?" Samantha echoed, eyes widening. "Yes, your sister, not just Amelia. There's a line of us. It reaches deep into the fabric of reality." The shadows around them seemed to pulse, responding to her words. "You're not just siblings," his mother continued, voice trembling. "You're part of something ancient and dangerous." Before they could absorb her words, the cloaked figure started to shake, their face twisted with fear. "No, not this! We can't let them know!" "Let us know what?" Jonathan fired back, panic twisting inside him. But out of nowhere, a guttural roar echoed from outside, shaking the cottage to its core. The walls trembled, dust raining down, and Jonathan felt it, the ground beneath him, shifting like earth giving way to an avalanche. "What is that?" Ethan cried, eyes wide in terror. "That's not just an animal," Amelia said, voice steeled as she reached for Jonathan. "That's a sentinel, a guardian of the truth. Once it's called, there's no going back." At that moment, everything shifted again. Jonathan's mother's figure flickered, like a bad reception on an old TV, revealing underneath her facade a ghostly silhouette cloaked in ethereal light. I'm not who you think I am," she whispered, horror dawning on Jonathan's face. "I am bound to this world because I made a choice to protect you." "What are you saying?" His voice was small, quaking under the weight of her revelation. She took a step back, the shimmer dissipating. "Like fading mist. The sacrifices I made to keep the sentinels at bay. It was all a lie to shield you. And if they find out... Find out what?" Jonathan felt his world teeter, reality blurring like a reflection in disturbed water. "The truth," she gasped. "You have to make a choice, to either release me from this curse or let them control your fate." The cloaked figure, eyes wide with terror, whispered, "You can't be serious. This isn't just about our family anymore." And with those words, the ground trembled again, sending Jonathan sprawling backward, the enormity of it all crashing down on him. As he looked up, the shadows twisted around them, the threat growing ever closer, and the revelation hung heavy in the air. What more had they unleashed? What would they have to choose? And who among them was truly lost, bound to the ancient powers lurking just beneath the surface? But then the flickering light returned abruptly, illuminating the room, illuminating everyone's faces, except for his mother's. "Mom?" Jonathan's heart dropped as he realized she had vanished, leaving nothing but the faint impression of her presence behind. "No!" The scream erupted from Jonathan's throat. Where did she go? The cloaked figure simply laughed now, a sound twisted with malice. "Oh, it's far too late for her now. You wanted the truth." With that, their fingers stretched out, and the shadows stirred like an awakening nightmare. And in that moment, the shrieks of the sentinel outside morphed into something else. A chorus of wails, echoing a loss that wasn't just familial, it was ancestral. Everything around him began to darken. The weight of the past clawed at his heart, each shadow crawling forth from the corners of the cottage, as if summoned by the truth now ripping apart the fabric of their existence. "Mom!" he shouted, desperation cracking his voice as realization washed over him. They were no longer fighting for survival. They were fighting to reclaim what had been lost. Their very lives twisted within the dark history of their lineage. But in the depths of that despair, own blood, the shadows surged, dark and chaotic. But in that whirlwind of terror, a single flicker of resolve ignited within Jonathan. He stepped forward, adrenaline coursing through him. "We're not afraid of you. We will face this together." His voice rang out, shaking but firm, catching everyone off guard. The malevolent figure let out a guttural laugh, their grin slashing across their face like a knife. "Together? You really think that matters now?" "Yes!" Jonathan shouted back, feeling the warmth of his siblings close by, their hands steadying each other, knitting their resolve. "We know what we are, and you don't own us." Behind him, Amelia glowed brightly, the energy radiating from her a vivid contrast to the encroaching shadows. "You have no power here." "We break the cycle of fear." With a pulse of commanding light, she thrust her hands forward. The room exploded with light, illuminating the horror lurking in every corner. Jonathan felt the heartbeat of the cottage around him, every creak of the wood a reminder that they were not alone. "You can be free, Mother," he called out, tears welling in his eyes. "Just let go." Then, as if the very air conspired with him, he turned to the others. "Together, we can do this." Echoes of their ancestors surged around them. Whispers of love drowned out the malignant presence. "You're stronger than their lies." The voice was soft, yet resonated with overpowering conviction. It was Grandma Eleanor, manifesting in the glow of newfound hope. "You really think you can escape?" the cloaked figure spat, rage boiling in their voice. "You are nothing but a reflection of the past." "No!" Jonathan shouted, heart pounding. "We are the future. We choose who we are." The ground rattled beneath them, a reminder of the old horrors that bound them. But Jonathan felt fresh strength surging through him. Breathless, he held his siblings close and directed the overflowing energy toward their mother, who stood trembling on the periphery. "It's time," he said, voice trembling with severity. Gathering her strength, Eleanor stepped forward into the light, her silhouette brightening. "I choose love, love for my children." A brilliant stream of energy shot forth, merging with Amelia's, drowning out the darkness surrounding them. The cloaked figures recoiled, their faces contorting in agony as the light twisted and enveloped them like a cocoon. "No, this can't be!" "Yes!" Jonathan cheered, watching as the shadows began to disintegrate. "This is who we are." As the brilliance surged, the air thick with warmth, the lingering specter of his mother solidified before him. She looked vibrant and whole, no longer lost in heartache. "I'm sorry," she breathed, the weight of her past visibly lifting. "Let's make it right," Jonathan replied, voice cracking from the emotional tide. "Let's heal our family." Their hands clasped together, locking in the spirit of the truth. They were intertwined in ways deeper than flesh, entangled in love. The brightness peaked, forcing back the shadows until they scattered like dust. The cottage sighed as the remnants of past darkness dispersed. Silence enveloped them, a peaceful stillness that felt like a warm hug, the kind that could only follow a storm. "Together," Amelia said softly, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Together," echoed Samantha and Ethan. the vow reinforcing the bond forged in trials. In that moment, a promise hung in the air. They would celebrate and honor their truth moving forward. Jonathan looked around at his sister, brother, and mother, a swell of pride flushing through him. They would create anew, away from secrets, building a legacy rooted in love and transparency. As they held each other, the dawn broke outside, sprinkling warm hues across the remnants of the night. It felt like the first. Sigh of a new beginning, painful yet full of hope. The world stretched out beyond them, and they were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, bonded and brave. And then a subtle whisper lingered through the gentle breeze. Maybe this wasn't the end, but a new chapter just beginning. You have to subscribe right now. Don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. I want to hear from you. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this.